Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. I'm Enfuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program once again, Enfuegotainment. Stoked that you're here for another Rapido review, a Fresca Fuego review from yours truly. And this is for a film that was a festival darling. It was purchased by Amazon and is now available on Prime. So if you got that subscription, that is the exclusive destination to go check it out. This is The Vast of Night. And believe it or not, this is, despite being a very polished effort, especially from a directorial and a cinematography standpoint, and with the intrigue of the scripting as well, this is a first-time effort from both the duo of screenwriters for this and also our director. So a mature debut right out of the bat, and something that also helps the experience significantly, despite the fact that I'm kind of slanted in my love for just a science fiction story with dramatic elements, and I also do like period pieces from the 20th century, especially the early to mid 20th century. So this is the 1950s and it's New Mexico, so you can probably imagine that this is going to be dealing with UFO stuff and just speculation and everything. A horror film this is not, which is why it's not on my main channel, youtube.com/thehorrorshow channel. And that's because of the fact that even though we did a trailer reaction for it, this is much more, I don't even know if I would go as far as like Twilight Zone, maybe kind of Outer Limitsy, but I mean, it does from a visual standpoint pay homage to both of those, because you do have a Rod Serling-like introduction at the very beginning of this, and you see a old school television, black and white, and you know, it just kind of zooms into the story and we join the story already in progress sort of thing. But our two leads also have terrific chemistry. They do speak in rapid fire fashion, which definitely takes a little bit of getting used to. When we first started this film, and throughout the first like 10 or 15 minutes, it is super quick with the quips, and it also is in I guess you can't say old-timey vernacular, but definitely of that, you know, post-World War II baby boomers, suburbia sort of, you know, there's a specific inflection to the speech, and it just, as these two, Sierra McCormick and, oh goodness, something Horowitz, I feel terrible that I'm neglecting his name, but so it's essentially this slightly older guy who works for the local radio station, and for this younger girl who is like 16, still in high school obviously, and she is fascinated with what this older gentleman does. Jake Horowitz, I believe is his name, I hope that's correct. But yeah, so she looks up to him, kind of crushing on him a little bit. It's really kind of gray area if it's, you know, like an older brother, younger sister, or if there is just kind of a crushing type thing. And honestly, we don't need that sort of distinction anyway, because they have great energy and chemistry together, and the discussion just flows so well between the two of them, almost too well in the excitability as the two of them are going back and forth. And so she is fascinated with what he does. She has just bought a recorder that she is going around with at the beginning of the film, like a portable recorder. And so yeah, she's got the microphone, and she has like reporting aspirations, and so she's like, hey, can you show me how to work this new audio recorder that I got? And he's like, sure. And so, you know, he basically, they walk everywhere for the most part until the back half of this movie, because it's a smaller town, and that is definitely what a lot of younger people would presumably do, especially, you know, if you don't have like a super well-paying job, and cars were tougher to come by back in this era, because they were still, I mean, a few decades in, it was more of a luxury than a necessity, especially in a small town. And so yeah, he walks her to her job, and over the course of that stroll, it's back and forth interviewing, and she is like talking about some interesting futuristic ideas that she's read about in Modern Mechanics, about how we're going to have, you know, pods that take us, you know, across, you know, the country, and then there's going to be underground bullet trains and just all this different stuff. And then the third story that she mentions to him that she's read about is how people are going to have these little handheld video phones where they can like video talk to each other. And it's one of the funnier, just brief little bits of dialogue in the film where he's like, wow, well, those first two, I definitely see those happening, but I'm not so sure about that third one with those little handheld video phones. I don't see that ever happening. Obviously, hindsight 2020, it's chuckle worthy and it was deliberately put in there. But yeah, the discussion between the two of them throughout the entire movie, because the McCormick and Horowitz, they're our main two peeps. The movie pretty much surrounds them entirely, with the exception of just a few other locals that they interact with here and there. But so the story really starts to get going when McCormick, who is working as the patchwork woman back in the day, when you had to call in and an operator would connect you to your designated call, and especially locally, I mean, the long distance was very pricey back in this day and age, and so her older friend is broadcasting, and she has his program on while she's working the boards. And right after he gets done, at the beginning of his program with some of the local news, there's a weird noise that comes through, and it interrupts his broadcast. And it's like a discordant, just strange, slightly ominous noise. And she immediately calls her friend on the radio, and she's like, "Hey, check it out. Your broadcast was interrupted. I think you need to hear what this was." And he's like, "Well, I record everything, so when I'm on break and I'm playing my record, I can listen back to what I recorded and see what exactly that sound is." And then it just starts to go from there, and this is where the film really picks up some significant steam. Without spoiling too much, he plays the noise over the radio during the broadcast, and he's like, "Does anybody know what this is?" You have a caller who, he basically calls into the show, older black gentleman, and he's like, "Yeah, I've heard that noise before." He starts to go into it, and then it just really begins to just become the mystery of, is there something in the sky tonight? And they do allude to some of this in the trailer, so it's not me, just spoiling anything about, is there or isn't there some sort of unidentified flying object in the sky? And they continue segueing throughout just intermittent portions of the film with pulling out of this broadcast on this old-timely black and white television, and very cool looking. It's a dope aesthetic, and I mean, it's where it's instances like that, along with just some of the following camera work when they're walking to their respective jobs at the switch station and the radio spot as well. And also there's some very just fast camera movement. I wasn't sure if they sped up the filming or if it was all done drone or whatever, but it's just like zooming through the town with the quickness, and it goes from said I forget if it's where the girl is working or if it's at the radio station, and it goes to where everybody is congregated at the local high school basketball game. So there's pretty much nobody out on the streets, really very few doing anything else, and that kind of takes the attention away perhaps from something being up in the sky, and using the fact that there's not a lot of eyes to the sky. They're all indoors at this one specific spot. So could something be going down? Is this seizing a moment of opportunity when it presents itself? That shows intelligence, right? If there is a deliberate just looking for that window to take the opportunity where there wouldn't be as much attention possibly on something that's going around up above. And it's a great movie. It's not quite as I still lean more so towards horror when it comes to my science fiction, which this is not. This is more just kind of like an eerie unraveling at times, and it's way more. I got vibes of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and anybody who has seen that film definitely knows that that doesn't really veer into horror at all. So I mean, we're not talking fire in the sky here, for God's sake, or anything like that. So I enjoy this sort of storytelling. I'm fascinated with this. Is especially timely now with the fact that recently there was some footage that was floating around online, and the U.S. government admitted, yeah, that was a UFO, and we're not completely sure what it is. Now, granted, that's just what they told us, but nonetheless, yeah, there was, as opposed to deny, like we've heard for decades at this particular point, the fact that that happened recently, it only ties in with the intrigue from this film, and it moves very briskly, and it picks up its pace and its momentum and its sense of urgency, especially. It's 90 minutes, it's just a fun little run through, just 50s suburbia with that science fiction twist to it. And I really dug this film. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. This is certified Fuego. You get 4 out of 5 balls, yo. So yeah, definitely subscribe to Prime, and if you have it already, take advantage of this, and it's really not that bad of a deal. Especially if you get, now is the time, as much as we hate giving Bezos our money, the convenience of Prime and all of their original content, plus, all of those other perks of the shipping and that stuff. Yeah, it's like, you have to weigh out the whole corporateness and that sort of support to make the richer. I know a lot of people have specific thoughts about that, but in this day and age where so many people are still quarantined at home and social distance and all that stuff, people want to be indoors. Hey, Amazon Prime is a good deal for their original programming is often much like Netflix, not developed in-house. It's brought on and brought to them, and I probably shouldn't have implemented my personal politics into the end of this review, but that's my thoughts, everybody, on The Vast of Night, and I really dug it as far as just like an old school, to just 50s to, sci-fi, drama sort of detour. It was pretty sweet. So I've been Jaime Fuego. Y'all can find me on all social media sectors, just like you see spelled below: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, where I do lots of nerdtastic coverage, Star Wars, comic book stuff, things of that nature, but also art house dramas, smaller films like this, obviously being a first-time director on a micro budget, bigger Oscar contenders, films with major momentum behind them. I also do an animated Monday. I do a retro Fuego Thursday, because people do that throwback Thursday on the hump day. And so lots of variety here. Like, share, subscribe. It is supremely appreciated. I'm barely over a Jeezy here in my subscribership after taking a couple years off of this channel and relaunching it in 2019. And if you like more spooktacular stuff of the sci-fi and full-on horror variety, definitely migrate over to my other channel if you're not familiar, youtube.com/The Horror Show channel. Like you see below over there, we've got over 33,000 subscribers, so a big disparity, but yeah, there's at least one episode a day over there, and it's film reactions, trailers and stuff like that, as well as reviews of movies, television, comics. I do a weekly Stephen King show, Hail to Stephen King, video game Let's Plays, unboxings, you name it. It is a true horror variety show in every sense of the word, and I'm very proud to be a part of the team over there. So that's going to be the end of it, y'all. Gracias once more, and until the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego. Cinemigos, constant viewers and readers alike, because I get a little bit of both of those on this channel, but I am hopeful that we share more of this film palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, peace out, stay safe, and watch more movies.